We are back and welcome to the Sharnbrook Crew Footballing Podcast, Episode 2. I am once again joined by Harty, I'm joined by Dan, and I am joined by Chris. And today we are going to be discussing all of our season predictions for the upcoming Premier League 2024-25 season. We're covering a whole bunch of categories. We're going to do the Champions League places, the bottom three, Player of the Season, Young Player of the Season, Signing of the Season, Biggest Flop, Manager of the Season, the first manager to leave, the top scorer, the most clean sheets for clubs. We'll get more on that later. And then a one-to-watch player and a ones-to-watch for the entirety of the Premier League that is not actually a player. So, how are we all feeling, guys? All good?
Yeah, all right.
Football back again.
Exactly.
Yeah, exciting.
Tomorrow's
the first day.
Exactly. I was going to say, for those listening and watching, we are recording this the Thursday night before the season starts. So anything that happens on Friday and Saturday, we are unaware of. So any new signings, any disastrous injuries to players we may or may not pick in this video are not reflected in this. But we'll start off with the champions. So who we all think is going to win the Premier League. And they are revealing now. So I have gone for Manchester City. Dan has gone for Manchester City. Chris has gone for Manchester City. But Harty has gone for Arsenal. So I think we will go to you first, George. Why have you gone for Arsenal?
I think, well, if it's not going to be Man City, it's going to be Arsenal. I think there are comparisons, maybe it's wrong to draw comparisons, but it reminds me of when Liverpool won. We kept on losing to Man City, and then I think Arsenal now, in a sense, know they have to win, and they know they can't afford to draw. I just think as well. I think Man City 5 in a row. Do they have that hunger? I don't know. And then there's the things with the charges and possible points deductions, and
I mean that could be the reason why.
I know that's I know. Yeah, I don't want to, bank on that, but I just think I don't know. I've got a feel. And they weren't. I mean, how much did they miss out by last season?
2 points. It was 5 points. 5 points 2 years ago. 2 points last year. So if they get that 3-point gain again, they'll win it by a point this year.
They've got a It reminds me of when Liverpool finally won the league after we'd missed out again on the last day. I remember that first day of that following season, they were just. I was almost sort of given up. I don't know what Dan felt like, but then I remember watching the game. I can't remember who we played, but just the fans were like going crazy. Like they had to win. They knew they had to win every single game. It was
we had 2 seasons of. What was it, 97 and 98 or something like that? We basically just scraped 100. Any other, I think there was a stat that any other season we would have won them both. But so I just don't know if Arsenal can do it, sort of thing, because they've had 2 seasons where they've done that and they didn't get it. They now need a third. Our third season wasn't as good.
I mean,
that's where we had the.
I've said all summer I think there's going to be an Arsenal drop off this year, but. We'll see. Has anyone got anything to add as to why Man City are going to win it, other than that it's Man City and they're just probably going to win it?
I mean, the only thing you can potentially throw into it is things that happen, like the potential points, whatnot. But you can't take that into account until you know the factors.
Exactly. Well,
I think as well. Sorry, I'll just say quickly. I think Arsenal play Man City, don't they? Is it the 5th game of the season, or
it's pretty early?
Quite early, yeah. I know for us, again. Drawing comparison, we played City at home, didn't we? Quite early on, we won that game. That was a marker, but they're away. But if they can win that game,
I'm pretty sure Arsenal's first 3 away games are something like Liverpool, Tottenham, and City.
Yeah,
it's rough. Their opening away fixtures.
Yeah, that sounds a bit rough.
Villa, Tottenham, City are their first 3 away fixtures. So.
Yeah,
we'll see. Anyway, so we're not spending too day on that.
It is a marathon. Sorry. Anyway,
it is a marathon, and at the end of the marathon, there are also going to be 3 other teams that occupy the top 4 places. This is what we have gone for. I have gone for Arsenal, Liverpool, and Manchester United. If you want to see my full breakdown on that, check out my full Premier League table prediction. Harty's gone for City in second, unsurprisingly, because he's done Arsenal to win the league, and he's done Liverpool and Tottenham. Dan's done Arsenal, Liverpool, and Chelsea, and Chris has done Arsenal, Newcastle, and Chelsea. So I think we're all kind of in agreement that Arsenal are most likely to finish second, so I don't really think they're warranted talking about, and George has just covered most of it anyway. So I will probably then go to basically Dan and Chris and say, firstly, why Chelsea?
The new manager syndrome is for me. They've had a couple of good signings. People like Nkunku will be back fit. Palmer did have a very good season last season, so could potentially carry on that same form. And if they can sort out a bit more of a team spirit towards the start of it, and rather than dropping off initially, they might be in for a shout of keeping up there.
Fair enough.
Yeah, similar to what Chris sort of said. The Palmer having a great season, the new manager, a couple of things. I think they've had quite a few signings as well. I feel like they had a right drop off last season, and I don't know. I just feel something coming from them this year. I feel like they've sort of, since Abramovich left, they've kind of been in a little bit of a rut, and I don't know. I just have a feeling there's a turnaround somewhere. I feel like because they had quite a good end to last season, made up a few places, but yeah, that's why I put them in there.
Okay, so
go
on.
I was just going to say something I would add as well. I know there's a category coming up later, but I know there are rumours at the moment, aren't there, about a certain Victor Osimhen. If they get him, I mean, if you think of the chances Nicholas Jackson missed last season, Osimhen could take those. That could be a game changer.
A front four of Osimhen, Palmer, Neto, and Nkunku would be incredibly dangerous. But
I'm surprised Arsenal haven't made a move for him, because otherwise,
I think they have no interest in signing a striker.
And that's what. Yeah, it's probably one. Talking myself out of picking him to win the title, but sorry.
What?
Did you say Arsenal have no interest in signing a striker?
I think Arsenal have no interest in signing a striker. I think they're happy with.
At the beginning of this summer transfer window, everyone was saying that they were going to break the bank to sign Isak from Newcastle.
Yeah, but they didn't. They didn't. There was a buyout clause, and they didn't go for it. So I think they're happy with Jesus and Havertz. But I think, in the risk of time, I'm still going to carry on this section for now, and I'm going to ask Chris, other than the obvious, why Newcastle, but probably more interestingly, why not Liverpool?
New manager. Same as with Chelsea. I don't know. Just the same sort of answer, but I thought they could drop off a little bit more and then end up.
You're looking at Chelsea's business, going, they've done well. You're looking at Liverpool's business and going, oh, they've done no business.
Not necessarily that. It's just, I don't know. You've got one of the teams has got to make way, and if some other teams are performing very well, Liverpool may not get along with the new manager and the new style.
Fair enough. And I've got to ask finally.
You can't take pre-season into account, because you could also say that Newcastle's pre-season has been very good, but it's you never know. It was just went on a gut.
And then finally, George, Tottenham.
Yeah, I think Ange Postecoglou usually does quite well in his second season. I think they'll need to be sort of, I guess, lucky with injuries in terms of, last season, Van der Ven missing quite a few players. But Solanke, I think they've overpaid for him, but I think he will get goals. Chelsea have made good signings, but they'll have a new manager. It'll probably take them time to gel. I think Tottenham might just do it over the others, but yeah, I mean, it could be anyone really. Could even be Manchester United, Ryan, couldn't it?
It could, which is why I've put them in there. And like I said, you can check out my reasons for that on my main Premier League video. But on the note of Tottenham, I put Tottenham 8th. So we'll certainly see who comes out from that. Right, from the top to the bottom. Bottom three we have got as follows. I have done all three of the promoted sides to go back down for the second season running. George has also done Southampton and Leicester. So we've all done Southampton. Only myself and George have done Leicester, but some controversial ones in there. Brentford, Forest, and then Bournemouth. Very interesting one. So, I mean, obviously I'll do mine very quickly. I just think none of them have done enough business. I think Southampton have probably done the best business, but I also think they're still the weakest side, which is why I've got them to go. And obviously we've all picked Southampton. Ipswich, Kieran McKenna's got a lot of pressure on his shoulders. Plus, I think if he has a good start to the season, or if managers get sacked, I can still see Kieran McKenna getting poached and then Ipswich falling apart. And as I said in yesterday's table, Leicester still have a points deduction looming over them as well. So I've put them there because I think they could be hit with a points deduction. So I'll go to George. Why Brentford? I'm going to assume Ivan Toney.
Yeah, partly, but also they've been they've been falling away a lot more and more in recent seasons. I just wonder, and again, you don't look at they just seem to be, I don't know, they used to be, they started off so well in the Premier League, they just seem to be sort of falling away a little bit, and I just wonder if they think they can, we're a big club now, we won't get relegated. I just wonder if maybe they'll become too complacent and just they'd be in danger. I thought I put them down just as I didn't want to put all three of the promoted sides down. But
I think I put Brentford 17th, so I think I put them the position above.
They were in complete free fall last season. Yeah, so
if Tony goes for the end of the window, because they've signed Igor Thiago and he's out till Christmas, so they haven't got a backup striker.
They've never even replaced Ryan. They're really Flecken's not been great. So
no, exactly. Yeah. Dan, Forest. Don't think.
Well, I was struggling on who to pick, to be honest, and they finished 17th last year, so I didn't want to put all three that had just come up, and I just don't think Southampton will do it. Sort of as you said, Ipswich, don't know. And as I said, struggling on that last one, so I just went, let's go. Oh, sorry,
sorry.
Let's go. All right, let's go 17th. The one who finished 17th last year. So that was it, really.
And then Chris, Bournemouth.
Typed you wrong. It's meant to be Brentford.
Fair enough. I was going to say
I just typed in the wrong club and had a bit of
fair enough. Maybe I can. No, well, so you think Brentford as well, which is fair enough. I mean, Bournemouth have sold Solanke, but have agreed a deal to sign Evan Nilsson today, which I think would be a good signing for them. So we'll see how that ends up going for them. Right, that is it in terms of the clubs. Now let's go to players. So the good news is, before I reveal it to you, is we've all picked a different player of the season. So I have gone for the person I always go for, which is Rodri. Harty's gone for Saka. Dan's gone for Haaland. Chris has gone for Foden. I might as well go first. I think that this will finally be the year that Rodri gets the plaudits he deserves. He's only lost 2 matches in the last 18 months, the FA Cup final and the Champions League game, which they lost on penalties. Obviously, they still won the Premier League last year. Rodri got player of the tournament for Spain when they won the Euros. I thoroughly expect him to be in the running and possibly could win the Ballon d'Or. And I think if he wins the Ballon d'Or, they'll then give him player of the season if City win the league. Because I think they'll go, he's been that integral again, so this time he'll actually win it. I'll go to Chris. Back-to-back.
Yeah, you're backing him. He's fitting into the system. He's getting the game time now, and he's not being rotated anywhere near as much. And I think they're starting to find a way that he can fit and mesh with the other attacking threats that they have.
Fair enough. Dan, I mean, it's probably the easiest pick to go for Haaland.
Yeah, I was literally about to say the same as the City answer for winning the title. It's Haaland, isn't it? I just think he's now what is it, his 3rd or 4th season in the Prem?
Third.
Third season in the Prem. He's had 2 great seasons before that. I think he's just going to start kicking off now and storming ahead.
Fair enough. And then I'm assuming that Saka falls in line with you going for Arsenal to win the league.
Yeah. Although I do remember when Liverpool won the league, I think De Bruyne got player of the season, but
did he get like 23 assists that season or something?
Yeah. But no, I think Saka had a great great Euros even. I feel like if they're going to win the league, he needs to turn up. I was looking at a few Arsenal players, to be honest, but I think Saka's star boy, isn't he?
Yeah. Havertz finally finds his shooting boots.
If I was going to go for an Arsenal player, I'd have probably gone for Odegaard, because I still think he's their most important player.
I almost went with him as well.
Yeah.
But I thought
Saka will grab the headlines at the end of the day. He will be the one that gets the most contributions, so I think that's fair enough. Then we have young player of the season, which I think Saka still actually qualifies for. I know Foden doesn't anymore and Haaland doesn't anymore. But again, we've all gone for different options. I've gone for Kobbie Mainoo. Harty has gone for Quansah at Liverpool. Dan has gone for Nwaneri at Arsenal, which is a fantastic shout, I would say, for maybe a year or two's time. I think this might be one season too early for him. But I like that he's been given a shout here. And Chris has gone for Anthony Gordon, which genuinely could be the one that wins it, because he is still 23, Anthony Gordon. And if he carries on from where he left off, I think that is actually a genuinely good shout. But then Palmer's still legible again as well. So could easily be back-to-back for Palmer.
I don't think my bias is really...
No, I think that's a perfectly legitimate shout.
About Mainoo, but if I was a Man U fan, I'd probably have gone for Mainoo, and if you're a Newcastle fan, you'd have gone for Gordon. But they're both very credible possibilities.
Yeah. Do you want to say anything about Nwaneri, Dan?
Well, I'll be honest. I was looking into it when you sort of sent us what to go over. I was looking over him, and I saw a couple of things on him, and he just looked good. And you are probably right. He's, because I think he is 17. Might be younger.
I believe he's the youngest player in Premier League history. Arsenal played him when he was 15.
Oh wow, okay. I just saw some bits on him, and he looks like he's going to be good. So I thought, you know what, let's shove somebody new in, because I figured George might have gone for Quansah. Chris probably went for Gordon. I had no idea who you were going for, but Mainu makes sense.
Dan's gone for youngest player of the season.
Yeah. Honestly though, like, I watched the pre-season game against Arsenal, and he was their best midfielder. He will get minutes this season, but I believe it's been confirmed today that Mikel Merino is signing. So it is going to be Merino, Rice, and Odegaard with like Partey, Jorginho, and then Nwaneri as the backup. So I think I said he'll get minutes, but I think it's a bit too soon to have him in the conversation. But again, Kobbie Mainoo was gonna get minutes and ended up going to the Euros. And so you just don't know. If they're good enough, especially at Arsenal, if they're good enough, they'll play. So he might get in there. I don't really think I need to say much about Mainoo. You've already covered Gordon. Isn't it? Yeah. You got anything else to say about Quansah, George?
I'm not like a massive, not blow his trumpet yet, but I just think if he does start alongside Van Dijk, he almost got in the England squad.
He was in our England squad.
Yeah. So if he pushes on, develops, he could. I didn't want to go for an obvious one again, but
it's fair enough. Oh yeah, we could have easily just all put Palmer.
We could have all put Palmer. Yeah.
But I do expect. I mean, as I said, Gordon could definitely pip it. I'd probably say Gordon has the most chance out of all of them, but we'll see. Right, from young player to the new signings. We haven't picked a new signing in any of our previous picks, so this will be interesting to see who we've all gone for here. I have gone for Füllkrug. George is very controversially, in Chris's eyes, probably gone for Minte, a signing from Newcastle to Brighton. Dan's gone for Pedro Neto. Chris has himself gone for Smith Rowe. So I think we'll start with George this time. Minter.
Yeah. So this is one I would have liked to have gone for Liverpool player here, but we haven't signed anyone. So, Minter, yeah, I think so. He was on loan at Feyenoord, wasn't he, last season? And then Brighton. It's maybe not one for this season, this one, but it's more Brighton have a track record recently of signing players, selling them on for big profit. I wonder maybe, he's left-footed, he's got pace. I wonder if maybe, if Slot is to be a success at Liverpool, he will eventually need to replace Salah. In a couple of years or two, might think, oh, what's another left-footed player who's around? Oh, that guy I used to have at Feyenoord who's now doing well at Brighton. All of a sudden, Brighton are going, yeah, hello, well, we bought him for, was it 30 million? You can have him for 90. And that would just be yet another
the Brighton
way.
I mean, they've spent money.
Exercise. Yeah.
Brighton have spent money in the last 24 hours. 40 million for Leeds for Reter. Could be a good signing for them. I think another one as well I saw.
So
and they could be signing
of the season. Yeah, signing of the season, maybe not for this season, but maybe
long term
in the future. Yeah, long term one. Yeah.
Well, mine's certainly for this season because Füllkrug, I think, is 32, 31, 32, but he's a goal scorer.
It's a really good shout, and he was very impressive at the Euros when he was playing, and I think Germany were amiss to not play him more.
Yeah, I think West Ham have been crying out for a proper striker. They've tried a few. They've tried Haller. They've tried I can't remember the guy's name. They've tried a few up there, Arnautovic and Antonio, and even Bowen went up there at times last season.
Yeah.
I think he is a very accomplished striker. I think he's the best striker they have tried up there. And with the support system they've brought in, Somerville, Guido Rodriguez in midfield, I think it's all going to be funneling in towards him, and I think he'll score a lot of goals. And he's also in my fantasy football team because I think he's going to score a lot of goals.
Score a lot of goals, but I think he'll be
integral. Yeah.
Integral.
Let's go to the biggest, most expensive one, Pedro Neto.
Yeah, I have always really liked him. I think he was great at Wolves. Moving to Chelsea. I didn't want to say it earlier when we were talking about the top four, but I think he's going to be a part of the reason they're going to get to that spot. I think he's a great player, and I think he could do bits at Chelsea, especially because they're coming on from a down season, so people aren't going to expect massive from him. Obviously they are, but you know what I mean, like if they were already in the Champions League in whatnot, they're expecting, all right, now we want to go for the title run. Whereas finishing, it was 8th last year.
No, we finished 8th. Yeah. They finished 6th, but they're now.
Did they finish 6th?
They finished 6th. Okay, they're in the Conference League because we won the FA Cup.
Yeah, so all right, so they got the 6th, they got the Conference League, but yeah, still, I think he can push them to that Champions League spot. So yeah, I thought I'd go for him.
What I would say to add on to that is I would have picked Pedro Neto if I could have a guarantee that he would be fit all season long. But I cannot be guaranteed.
That is fair.
And then I think the most transferred in player on fantasy football since the signing was announced, Emil Smith-Rowe. And I mean, I think
it goes along a similar sort of line to I think it was Fulham signing Pereira, wasn't it, as well? Mm-hmm. He's kind of embedded himself and become integral to that Fulham team, and I think those two could complement each other very nicely in that team and be an outstanding signing for that team and be the most integral new signing for the level of team that you're talking about. Pedro Neto, yes, but you've already got stars in that team like Palmer for Chelsea, whereas I don't know if Fulham had the players that would potentially be on the same calibre as Smith-Rowe and stand out that much, and so that's why I've gone for him, because he could make more of an impact into that mid-table team than some of the other ones into a top-tier team.
The only concern about Fulham is that he's their only signing and they've not replaced Palhinha. So if they're not winning the ball back as efficiently, he might not see enough of the ball to make enough of an impact. But I still think, like I say, he's in my fantasy football team, so I clearly think he's going to do well. Yeah. Right. Oh, now it gets...
I'll just quickly add to that one. Just again, I mentioned Victor Osimhen earlier. If he does sign...
You would have gone for him.
Probably, yeah, because that is. I think I could get
for the purposes of when for the purposes of when we do our review of this in 9 months' time, I will update it with Osimhen if he signs.
Yes.
Right then, from the best signing to the worst signing, I have gone for Amadou Onana. George has gone for Boss Rackley. Dan has gone for Savinho, and Chris has gone for De Ligt. Really?
Oh,
De Ligt. I nearly put him as my signing of the season.
Let him have it, Chris.
Go on, what's your justification for De Ligt?
I mean, he's been moved around a lot over his time, and he's still quite young. So he had a couple of seasons at Juve, he had a couple of seasons at Bayern, and in the most recent season at Bayern, Eric Dyer was keeping him out of the team.
That manager got sacked because they finished 3rd.
He was keeping out of the team because he something in there and didn't like him.
No. And company's obviously been happy to sell him, but the Bayern fans did sign a huge petition to try and keep him. So
I was also just looking up at his accolades since he was there. So he joined Juve, unsurprisingly, won the Serie A from a Serie A winning team. But the following year when he was there, they didn't win the Serie A. They won the Coppa Italia, but they didn't win the Serie A there. He then moves on to Bayern in a cup-winning team or a league-winning team, won the league. The following season, doesn't win the league.
I like where you're going with this. So he signs for Man United and we win the league.
So he drags the team down because he signs for a team that was already winning the league.
Yeah. I mean, there's certainly justification for it, and we have spent 50. We've spent 50 million on him, so he's still got to deliver. But he's with players that he knows. He's obviously got experience with Onana. He's got experience with Mazraoui. There's still rumours we could sign De Jong as well. Yes, we are building the Ajax team that bottled it to Spurs, but it is what it is. But yeah, I think that's fair enough. I mean, the obvious one for Savinho, because we'll do the 2 Villa players last. The obvious one for Savinho is that last year he was Savio, and now he's gone to Man City. He thinks he can put the N and H in there like he's actually a top-tier Brazilian now. So he quite literally has to deliver, otherwise he's a flop. So
yeah, I'll be honest. I didn't really know who to put for this one, and I didn't know much about him at all. And I was just thinking, well, he's gone to City. Is he going to get much game time? I don't know if you can then call that a flop because they might be having him for future because he's still quite young. But yeah, I'll be honest. It was a bit of a cop out choice. I don't really know much about him, so I was just like, yeah, he can. I didn't want to insult any of the others.
No, that's fair. It's fair. But like I said, he's put the pressure on himself by making himself Firmino. So
I didn't even know that, which is funny. So yeah,
no. His whole career so far, he has been Savio. Now he is Savinio. So
yeah, that's it. No, that's sort of he's
great name for a goalkeeper.
He's the flop.
Got it, George. Ross Barkley.
Yeah, again, like Dan, this was a difficult one for me. And then I remember I was looking through the list of transfers, and I thought, oh yeah, Ross Barkley. And then I remember when it happened. I remember seeing it in the news, and it was sort of like that scene in The Matrix, when there's the deja vu, and he looks back at the cat and he sees it. I was like, that seems to be somewhat familiar. And I was like, he actually was there already on loan, didn't he? He went to Aston Villa on loan earlier, and he flopped. And I thought, why is he going back there? Why are they signing him again? I was like, huh?
I seem to famously remember him scoring 2 goals in a game where they scored 7 in.
That's the game I remember. Yeah, that was all he ever did. But yeah, because he was at Everton, had a couple of good seasons, went to Chelsea, failed to deliver really, didn't he? Spent ages there, went on loan to Aston Villa, flopped, came back, and then he did all right in Nice, but then that's the French league, and then he did all right at Luton, who are now in the Championship. So it's like, and now Aston Villa are going into the Champions League, and they've signed Ross Barkley. I'm like,
and my
that's
word,
not really going to.
Does it really count as a flop when?
But again, I was struggling. He's always already a flop.
I said they've only spent 5 million on him, which is why I didn't.
I know, but I just thought it was such a bizarre. I thought, why would they bring and Aston Villa as well? While we're on them, they've also re-signed Cameron Archer, who they sold, and they've also re-signed that Felengi something.
Yeah, the guy who scored the Rabona in the Championship.
Yeah, and I'm like, what's their transfer?
So Cameron Archer's being loaned out. They've already said that.
Oh, was he back out again? Okay.
Yeah, so I think
they had to buy him back though. They sold him. They had to buy him back.
They're trying to capitalise. They're trying to fiddle FFP. So they're doing resign.
Right, okay.
I think you could see Philogene get moved on again, but basically loads of clubs were in for him, but they had a buyback first option, so they took that, and now they can sell him for more this window if they want.
Yeah.
So
no, but Ross Barkley was just a bizarre signing to me.
No, but that's why I've gone for Onana over Barkley, because they've spent 60 million on Onana.
Yeah. And
his job is to replace Douglas Luiz, and he ain't Douglas Luiz. He is a completely different style of player. He is big. He's a bit clunky at times, and I think he could be caught napping. He was not impressive for me at the Euros. I think that midfield was Tielemans, Onana, and De Bruyne. Onana was clearly the weak link in there. And I think if you're spending 60 million on him to be, like I say, the Douglas Luiz replacement, unless they're going to put Tielemans back there, but he's not as good as tackling, I think Villa could be quite exposed in that midfield with him in there. But I'm happy to be proven wrong, but that's why I've gone for him as the biggest flop. Right, moving on, because we're only about halfway through, and I think we're already 25 minutes in. So we'll move on to the manager of the season. And I think, again, we've all gone for something different. So
oh, wow.
I'll get mine out of the way quickly. I've gone for Pep because this will be his last season for Manchester City, and the Premier League are sentimental. And I think if they're up there and everyone knows he's leaving, they'll vote for Pep. I think he's actually only won it twice out of 7 years, and they've won the title, 6 times under him? Like, Klopp's won it 2 or 3 times. I think Eddie Howe won it when you got top 4. And it's like, Pep has been absolutely dominant, and if he is leaving, then he'll just win manager of the season because it's Pep and he's leaving. So that's why I've gone for him.
Yeah,
that's fair.
Well, as I say, Harty's, again, just falls in line with everything else you've already said. So I don't think we need to say too much about that. Harty's gone for Arteta, for those of you that are listening. George's gone for Arteta, falls in line with the Arsenal and Saka for champions and player of the season. Dan's gone for Slot.
I had to. I got to back him. The thing is, I think he's. I mean, of what I've heard around where I work, I speak to a lot of people. Everyone's saying it's his first season. When it's fair enough, we're not going to do as well. And I don't know. I think pre-season, again, you can't judge anything on pre-season, but pre-season he's had a good pre-season. And as a Liverpool fan, if I wasn't going to go for him, it would have been the same as you, Ryan. I would have probably put Pep, but I wanted to be different, and I wanted to put back my new manager. Let's see how he does.
Fair enough. And I'm assuming, because Chris has gone for Eddie Howe, he's going to be feeling very similarly in terms of the Newcastle fan going for the Newcastle manager after predicting Newcastle to finish in the top 4.
If you look at where I predicted them to finish, and without having the Champions League or any of those kind of European competitions challenging, I think we can do very well in the league with that main focus and hopefully a cup run to go alongside it.
Yeah.
And if we can have one of those two things and challenge even, I want us to push on and try and go for the Champions League, even if it may not be what the club's looking to do in the long run. If we can do that, and how it gets us up there, if we have a similar sort of spell of injuries like we did this season, and he still manages to pull it off, fantastic. But I think it is a bit biased probably, but I still think we're going to be up there. So,
but yeah, all of them are justified. I think all of them are completely justified, and quite literally, the 4 managers we've picked could be the managers of the top 4 come the end of the season. So it's completely justified. Now, I have changed the title of this because I originally had this as first manager sacked, but it probably makes more sense to put first manager to leave because managers do just end up leaving. So I have gone for Russell Martin, George has gone for Steve Cooper, Dan's gone for Ten Hag, and Chris has gone for Maresca. Now I'm going to go to Chris first because I want to know if he's just covering his bases because he's put Chelsea to finish in the top 4, but Maresca to be the first one to go.
For this one, I was just on likelihood, and if you look at the history and the record that Chelsea have with managers, it's if they don't end up doing as well as people are predicting, or doing better than they ended up doing and carrying on their form of last season, the likelihood is they will get impatient very quickly.
My only counter argument to that, because I did consider Maresca at one point, my only counter argument to that is Chelsea had a shocking start to last season, and all the Chelsea fans wanted Pochettino out, and Todd Boehly kept him in, and then they did recover, but then they sacked him anyway. But that tells me that they are willing to give the manager a season. But
Maybe.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll
stick controversial, but I say not really. I say controversial. Ten Hag, go on. Is that more out of hope, or do you actually think he's going to be the first one?
No, there is obviously I put a little like joke to you, but which was Ten Hag out, Southgate in for Man United. Fingers crossed. No, it is a little bit of a joke, and there is a little bit to it as well. I don't know. I feel like if Man United don't kick off early and quickly, you might. Yes, you're not completely like Chelsea, but you are very quick to jump. And Ten Hag's now 3rd season or 2nd?
3rd.
Third, yeah. So this is now his 3rd season, and this is where Man United do decide whether they're going to keep him or not, sort of thing. So,
and it is only a 1-year extension. The only reason why I think they wouldn't sack him so immediately is because this is the first time they've properly backed him, but that's probably more Ineos than it is Manchester United as a club. But they've cleared out the backroom staff, brought in all the backroom staff he wants. They've made an effort in the transfer market to make the signings that he wants. So again, I think what would probably happen is kind of like what I said for Maresca. I think they'll give him this season and go, you've had your chance with your setup. Now we're going to have to bloody restart all over again, start the project from scratch.
Yeah.
But I think it would be wrong. You know, even if they sacked him, like, say we have a shocking start. Like, we lost at home to Fulham last year. We actually won away at Brighton last year. We have a bad record away at Brighton. Then our 3rd game's at home to Liverpool. There is a world where we lose all 3 of those opening games. Yeah. And
as I said, with mine, it was there is truth basis in it, as well as it being more of let's get Southgate in charge of Man United, please.
He was one game to lose his job last season, wasn't he? If not for the FA Cup final, I think he would have been on. So he's in that sense, he is the closest to the edge in that sense. But
completely agree. So but I couldn't do it because I just don't want to see him go. While I'm talking, I'll give my justification for Russell Martin. His first ever season as a Premier League manager. Newly promoted side. They were the lowest of the promoted sides because they came through the playoffs. There will be an expectation after the amount of money they've spent, the signings that they've made, to battle their way in this Premier League season. But all 4 of us have predicted Southampton to get relegated. I think they are the most likely to get relegated, and I think they will look at where they are after the first few months, and if it's not working out for them, they will look at the likes of Potter and other experienced Premier League managers, David Moyes, etc., available, and go, let's get an experienced Premier League manager in to try and save our season because the newbie's not cutting it. That's my justification.
That's fair.
Gareth Southgate. And Steve Cooper?
Yeah, I mean, Leicester sort of came up last season with a different manager. Only just about. They sort of like stumbled over the line, didn't they? And then Steve Cooper, I've never really been impressed by him personally. And then I think I've read as well the fans aren't happy with the style of play. I don't really see that they've signed anyone that's going to make a difference. You know, Jamie Vardy's not going to keep them in the league, is he? I don't know. I just think. I mean, yeah, they had a poor preseason. I think he's, yeah. I think, yeah, I nearly put Ten Hag, but I thought Steve Cooper's probably more likely to go first. I think he's
also sacked by Forest last season as well, so he's got previous of underperforming in the Premier League.
Yeah.
No, I think that's fair. Obviously, I said the irony that we've got someone saying the Leicester manager and someone saying the former Leicester manager to be sacked first. But again, just to sort of end it in terms of Maresca, he's literally only had a season and a half in management. He did the second division in Serie A and then 1 season in the second division of England. So with a Premier League team, and they only won the championship by 1 point to Ipswich. Yeah. So big pressure on him. Anyway, back to the players. We have our top scorers, and well, this will be quite quick and simple. Apart from one person, I've gone for Haaland, George's gone for Haaland, Dan's gone for Haaland, and Chris, the Newcastle fan, has obviously gone for Alexander Isak. He did, in his message to me, put brackets Haaland, but Isak was his first choice. So, do you want to give any justification?
Well, he came second on the, I think is it goals per minutes played or goals per matches? Only 2 Haaland, and if he stays fit, because he's had a couple of injuries, and the other asterisk is if Haaland does pick up an injury, why not be optimistic?
It's not that crazy.
Back your man, Chris.
He's the second highest on goals per game.
No, it's not. It's not in the world of possibility that he does it. It's not like a completely out of nowhere choice. Back your man.
And then we've got
go for it.
A team behind him, hopefully, with the Tonali coming back and everything else. So be a bit more solid, create more chances. Why can't he challenge?
I would caveat it, not in terms of Isak, but just in terms of the top scorer thing in general, that I very nearly changed my pick to Watkins because I've heard multiple rumours in the last 24 hours that they have named Watkins as the penalty taker for next season.
Ooh.
And obviously Watkins finished second to Haaland last year without penalties. I think he was joint with Palmer, wasn't he? Watkins. And then something like that. It was I can't really remember, but Watkins was up there without penalties. So if Watkins is on penalties...
That's straightforward for Haaland, though.
I think again.
Foden,
maybe not then.
Isak takes penalties, doesn't
he? Oh, it's because Watkins got 13 assists. It was goal contributions overall. Yes. But anyway, but we'll see. But I think if Haaland's fit, Haaland's going to win it, isn't he? I think that's all we need to say. Now, for this one, I've done most clean sheets for club. The reason why I did this rather than Golden Glove is because last year, Pickford was clear on the Golden Glove, but Arsenal had way more clean sheets. Obviously, Raya pipped him right at the end, but I think it makes more sense to sort of justify clean sheets as the club as a whole rather than goalkeepers, because goalkeepers can be chopped and changed. I know, Chris, you did send me Raya, so I've just changed yours to Arsenal, but I'm the one that's different here because I've gone Newcastle.
Wow. Fair.
I think
I do agree.
I think it's between Newcastle and Arsenal. Newcastle had the best defensive record 2 seasons ago. As we've already spoken about, they have no European football this season, so they can focus on keeping their players fit. The loss of Joelinton last year was massive. The loss of Tonali last year was massive. Both of them are back this season, so they're going to be less exposed in midfield. Yes, Botman's injured, but it looks like you're going to sign Mark Gahey, although the third bid has been rejected. You've still signed Lloyd Kelly. You've got Trippier and Livramento. You've got Lewis Hall. You've got Byrne. You've got Cher. You've got quality defenders around. And Nick Pope is back as well. Yeah. And Nick Pope was injured for the majority of last season. You keep that core defence and midfield fit, you can easily challenge Arsenal for most clean sheets again. Arsenal are the obvious pick. I don't really need to say much more about that. Obviously, Raya got the most clean sheets in the end. They've signed Calafiori. But as I already mentioned, I think there could be an Arsenal drop-off this season. But we'll see. If they're as solid as normal, then it's going to be
Arsenal.
Arsenal.
Still calling him second or first.
Yeah, but
I think... Aren't score as many, so probably going to draw more.
No, unless City learn how to defend, in which case, God help us all.
Yes. We're screwed here.
And now we get to have a little bit of fun because we're ending it with the ones to watches. So, ones to watch players is basically the player that you're most intrigued about seeing how they perform this season, be that on how they performed last season, whether or not they're a new signing, how you think they're going to perform in a new setup. And they have come in as followed. I've gone for Havertz. George has gone for Nkunku. Dan has gone for Darwin Núñez. And Chris has gone for Dominic Solanke. So I think we should start with George on this one, with Christopher Nkunku. Basically a new signing.
Yeah. I mean, this guy, we're talking about top goal scorers and stuff. I mean, this guy had a brilliant record at RB Leipzig, isn't it? Yeah. And he was really, of all those players that have come through that club and the Red Bull sort of family, I guess, of clubs, he was really the jewel in the crown. I was gutted when he went to Chelsea. I wanted him at Liverpool. And I think, it'd be interesting to see. He could be, again.
Leipzig really do have a production line of talent.
Yeah.
And then they have Danny Olmo.
He's come out just as well. Yeah, I was excited to see him last season. He struggled with injuries. I think if he's fit this season, he could be a massive player, and I'm really interested to see how he does, providing he stays fit. Yeah.
Famously does now hold the record, as any FIFA fan would know, holds the record for most Bundesliga player of the month in a single season. I think it was 5 out of 9 a couple of seasons ago. And I think he got Bundesliga top scorer that season as well, when you consider the players.
He's an amazing player, So, I'm interested to see how he gets on this season.
We'll go for Darwin Núñez, Captain Chaos. Is he the one to watch purely because you just want to watch him?
I'll be honest. Yeah, I honestly took this as a not so much like ones to watch. Darwin Núñez, he's gonna obviously I am desperate for him to come good. I think if he just gets his accuracy a little bit better, he's going to be banging goals in here left, right, and centre. But not just that. I think with all the controversy off the field in the was it in the Copa America he was in, where he got in the crowd and had the fight. So I just think in general, just a one to watch. I think there's something about him, whether he flops or does something amazing.
I'll hark back to 2 seasons ago when Darwin was signed and Haaland was signed, and Ryan said that Darwin was going to do better than Haaland.
Only 2 injuries. Only because of injuries.
He still could. We've got a way of seeing.
Look, all I'm saying,
a little bit more accurate.
All I'm saying is, in their first matches against each other in that Community Shield, it was Núñez that did the damage. So I was almost proven right. I'll go here because then go. No, finish.
As a Liverpool fan, also I would say I kind of feel like if Slot can't get a tune out of Darwin, it probably will be his last season, I imagine.
That's the other thing is I think this is where I was going. It wasn't he's going to be amazing. This could be his last season with us. Depending, he needs to do something. He's had the couple of seasons to get himself settled. He's then had last season where he had a ridiculous amount of shots and hit the crossbar in the post so many times, and he now needs to actually do something. So. It's more of a look out for Darwin. Let's see what something's happening with him, whether it's good or bad.
Yeah,
it's good. I'll go next because obviously Solanke is a new signing as opposed to a player that's kind of already established at their club. I've gone for Havertz because he is one of those players that when he's on it, he really can be on it. And back end of last season, Kai Havertz contributed, I think it was every single game for the last 13 matches for Arsenal. He either scored or assisted. He did have a good Euros. People aren't really talking about it, but he did have a good Euros. He did have his usual Kai Havertz moments, but they were still in good performances. He still scored goals. He still contributed. As I've already spoken about, Arsenal aren't looking to sign a striker, and that's because they're backing Kai Havertz. Now, Jesus has been brilliant in pre-season, and Havertz has been playing in midfield with Odegaard and Rice. Their final pre-season game, that's how it was. It was Rice, Odegaard, Havertz. And ironically, it was Rice that got all the assists because he took all the corners. But I think I almost put him in my fantasy football team. I think you're going to...
He's a very spooky footballer when he's on his tune.
I think he's happy at Arsenal. I think he's doing well at Arsenal. He's off the back of a good summer. He's had a good pre-season. And I think he's ready to hit the ground running. And I think if he can get his act into gear, we'll see the player that we had at Bayer Leverkusen 4 years ago. So that's why I've gone for Kai Havertz. But obviously, at the end of the day, if he don't turn up, he's hilarious to laugh at. So he's going to be a good one to watch. And then finally, Chris, Dominic Solanke.
He's been in and about, was it Bournemouth, his team, for years now, and he doesn't really get a full amount of service. You'd like to think him being up top with some of the Spurs players running around him, Son being a lot more of a threat than some of the players that he was playing with in Bournemouth. Big man as well up top. And also able to run in behind. It's one which could be interesting to see. None of us have tipped Spurs to be anywhere near the top four.
It's Spurs.
George has. George put Spurs top four.
You have. Sorry. Apologies. But it's just one of those where I think it could be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how he does in that system and how they play off him. Because he was also taken to the Euros with England. No.
I made us take him over Tony because I actually think he's better than Tony, and I know I'm in the minority on that, but I think Solanke is better than Tony, and I think he'll do well as well. And genuinely, the only reason I went for Fulkrug over Solanke was the price tag, because I think he will do very, very well at Spurs. I think he'll score a lot of goals. Not enough.
Spurs. They're so Spursy.
I mean, the thing is, he was at Chelsea, wasn't he?
Chelsea, and he's been at Liverpool.
Then he came to Liverpool, and
he was at Liverpool when he got the
Bournemouth.
Yeah, he was at Liverpool when he got the was it under 20s England
under
team
17,
or whatever.
So it was the under 17. It was the under 17s team that had, I think, I can't remember who else was in there. I think the likes of Sancho and Foden, maybe Rashford. There was some of them in there, and Solanke won the Golden Ball. He literally won the Young Player of the tournament, the thing that Messi won, the thing that Aguero won. Like, he won that as a 17-year-old. He was the best youngster at the major World Cup for the youngsters. He got that top player. And again, I mentioned Ivan Toney. Ivan Toney flopped at Newcastle. He flopped hard at Newcastle. He had to go all the way down to League One. And they're now saying 70 million for Ivan Toney. So for me, I think if you give Solanke the service, he will now start delivering. But we'll see. That's exactly
again. Yeah. 4 great picks.
Yeah. Right. And then to round it off, we have the non-player, which is basically just something that you think is going to be important to the Premier League season, that you are very interested in seeing how it plays out as the season goes on. So this is what we have all gone for. I have gone for fixture congestion. Harty's gone for semi-automated offsides. Dan has just said Chelsea as a whole. And then Chris has gone for Manchester City's 115 charges. I think we'll save that till last, because I think that is probably the most controversial one. So we'll go for Chelsea. I guess for all the reasons we've already mentioned. There's just...
pretty much. I just think... I think Chelsea are something to pay attention to. I think everything going on with them at the minute, with the whole thing of last season, the whole thing of Abramovich, I think this is their comeback season. So I think this is pay a bit of attention to Chelsea this year. I don't want them to, but I just feel like they've been sort of since the Abramovich whole scenario, everything's been a little bit of a downhill for them. And I think, this is their season where they're gonna show us that they're still about.
They're certainly hard to take your eyes off them. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, because they've signed enough players, haven't they? You probably.
Well, that's another the amount of players they. So again, it's going back to what the early 2000s sort of thing, when Chelsea first got all that money come in. They just brought players here, there, and everywhere, and then they just suddenly burst onto the scene. I feel like, as I said, they're obviously not going to burst onto the scene this time, but they're coming back. We're going to see them fighting again for titles, for Champions League, and that's why I've picked them for the top 4. Also, my signing of the season is Neto. Yeah.
Fair. Yeah. Oh, they've got the best possible opening fixture to prove their credentials. Man City at home. So, put in a good show
there you go. Exactly. Let's put in a good show, and
but that's the point.
They've done quite well, haven't they, against City at home recently?
Left backs that came out of the Euros in Cucurella. Yeah. Like, everyone didn't think he was a very good defender last season, but the way he played for Spain at the Euros, he completely proved everybody wrong. When he kept Ronaldo out, the team had an insane season in the Bundesliga.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, as I said, they're always worth keeping an eye on. Like, as we're sitting here today, we've already talked about it. They could be signing Osimhen. They could be re-signing João Felix after he did terrible for them 18 months ago. Like, doesn't get more Chelsea than that at the moment. So, yeah.
Exactly.
They're always going to be...
Gallagher's not gone yet, is he?
Yeah, the Gallagher deal could be off.
It's
the
like,
Alderweireld deal's already off.
Isn't it, really?
Yeah.
There's just so much going on with them. That's why.
Yeah. Completely fair enough. I guess I'll go next because I guess the last two are kind of regarding rules, aren't they? So I've gone for the fixture congestion because obviously that's been a massive talking point over the last couple of seasons. The amount of injuries, the amount of long-term injuries people are getting. People now moaning about FFP because they now want to have bigger squads due to the fixture pile up, but they can't get bigger squads because FFP is restricting them from signing the players they need to build up their squads. Now you couple that with the fact that they've added 2 more European games for Champions League, Europa League and Europa Conference League. Again, I nearly put Newcastle in my top 4 because of that. You got to think, every single one of these big teams, so I say big teams, like literally City, Arsenal, Liverpool, Man United, Tottenham, Chelsea, and I've missed one, Aston Villa, all 7 of those teams have got to play 8 additional games over Newcastle before Christmas.
Although Newcastle will have to play an early round in the League Cup, won't they?
They have to play 1 extra round in the League Cup. You are correct. So 7. It's 7 additional games. So well pointed out. But like I said, you know, we've just come off a season where you've had the Euros, you've had the Olympics. I know that's not been the case for many players, but some players are coming back off of long summers after having a long season last season. The likes of City and Chelsea then have the Club World Cup as soon as the season ends, so they've got even more reason to keep your eye on Chelsea. They're at the Club World Cup next summer. So yeah, I think, and especially as a Manchester United fan, and the injury crisis has already started, and we've not even kicked a ball yet. Obviously, we're doing this before Manchester United play tomorrow night, so people watching this could be sitting here, and Rashford and Bruno and that have gone off against Fulham. So. I think it's all going to come into effect, but that's my thoughts. I think that's the one to keep an eye on, how teams deal with the extra fixtures this season. Semi-automated offsides, George. I think we all know why you've picked this.
Well, we're still waiting for the replay against Tottenham, aren't we, really? That's what we all want. No, I agree. As a Liverpool fan, it would be remiss of me not to mention this. It's probably not going to change that much I guess maybe there'd be less extra time if they're making these decisions quicker and stuff, but... I thought it was odd that they're bringing it in halfway through the season.
That's what I was about to ask. Do you think it's fair that it's not coming in until every single Premier League round has it? And is it fair to change the rules midway through? So I'm not saying that it changes the rule, but it's the application of the offside rule is going to change midway through the season.
All I'll say is the outcome of offside shouldn't be changing it or just speed up the process.
Yeah. If anything, it's disappointing that the Premier League have had access to this technology since it was implemented in the Champions League, at the World Cup, at the Euros over the last 2 years, that they can't get it up in the remaining Premier League rounds in, 3-4 months?
It's ridiculous.
It's a little bit shambolic from the Premier League.
But as Chris said, it shouldn't affect the actual offside result. It's about the speed of it. So I don't think it will matter too much. But they should be implementing it straight away. I don't know why it's taking them so long.
I mean, who knows what we could have won if it wasn't for that Tottenham game, eh? Who knows?
Exactly. We'd have had 3 extra points.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of points, the final point of the video, Manchester City's 115 charges, which has now been announced that the case will commence in September. Mid-September.
10 weeks until a decision, but a decision is unlikely to be made public before the spring of 2025.
But
so if that means spring being early in the year, that's early enough to impact. There's a point deduction for this season, and if it is going to be big enough, will it potentially relegate?
That's literally what I was about to ask. Is there a potential that this could be big enough to relegate them?
So obviously, the question is, if they are found guilty of the charges, what's the punishment and how is it implemented? Are they immediately thrown out of the league? Are they allowed to finish this season but then have to start next season in the conference? Do they give them... Wait, but they're saying that they'll be shut down to League Two if they're found guilty of all the charges.
Yeah.
So it's how you implement it. That's probably the thing. If they're found guilty, it's how do you implement it? So, like I said, are they going to be thrown out immediately? Are they going to be allowed to finish this season and then just relegated because they broke all the rules? Or do they get hit with a significant points deduction that affects this season enough that they don't win the league? Or with a points deduction, which means that they're guaranteed to be relegated this season? Like, you literally give them like a minus 100 point.
Yeah.
Isn't this sad though, George? Like, sorry, Chris. Is this sad thinking about this? Because a lot of these charges have been over the last few years.
Yeah.
It's not just been 1 year. If they didn't do this, is there a chance Liverpool have won the season three more times in the last 6 years?
So
rather than just the once.
Until
No, there are.
United were challenging City for the league title.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. So it goes back even further.
It goes back to like the Pellegrini era.
Yeah. So there are 3 titles that United could have won. There are 3 titles Liverpool could have won, and 2 titles that Arsenal could have won.
Yeah.
In the period of these charges, Ollie would if they remove their titles, Ollie wins the league.
Wow, does that mean we would get the extras as well if they remove the titles?
That's the hilarious part of it, because this whole Man United Liverpool Premier League title rivalry, if all of their titles are removed, we both get 3.
Oh, so it stays the exact same. So we'll still be more decorated.
But we have to end it with one final possibility, which is that if they're cleared of all charges, then what chance do any of us have of ever getting back?
Right, I guess just waiting for Pep to leave, I suppose, is the next thing.
Yeah,
so,
I bet is it all just down to Pep? I'm not taking anything away from Pep, but City's
you look at the
team.
Absolutely not.
Other teams could have built the same team.
Oh, of course.
That City have.
Oh, yeah.
They play in the style that they play.
You
have to appreciate the genius of the manager.
Yeah, but what people seem to forget is that Pep did already have a team again that he comes in.
Yeah.
Pep is a manager that gets the best out of world-class players, but he did not build this Manchester City team. Yes, he did, but he came into a side that had Vincent Kompany, Yaya Toure, David Silva, Sergio Aguero. Like,
he came into an already winning Premier League winning side, and just carried it on.
Yeah. And have had access to the greatest pool of youngsters ever assembled. But that's all part of it. That's their justification as to how they've got around it, is that these weren't all things spent on the team. They were spent here, they were spent here, they were spent here. But we'll see.
Building the club infrastructure rather than just the pool of players, where if you look at the money that Chelsea have spent, they just splurged a load of it. And just reading some of the articles, it says that Chelsea is still being investigated as well.
Of course they are. Of course they are. They spent £1 billion in 18 months. Like, somehow they've only spent 160 million this summer, which I don't seem to believe, because I feel like they've signed 4 goalkeepers, spent 60 odd million on Neto, and like signing players that I've never even heard of for 20 odd million. So I don't know how they've only spent 160, but we'll see. I guess because they just clear players. That's the thing. What Chelsea do is they clear players, and I think City have as well. Like, you got to look at it. City have spent 15 million on Julian Alvarez, have sold him 18 months later for 80 million, and in that time, Julian Alvarez has won everything at Manchester City.
Yeah.
So that's how they can justify it. And like I say, they can spend 100 million on Grealish because they can sell Mahrez for 60 odd million, and they can,
Well, let's just fingers crossed they get charged for it, and we have a couple of seasons without them.
Yeah. Obviously, selfishly, I would say fingers crossed. But at the end of the day, if they can justify it, and it is legitimately justified,
obviously.
Yeah, I want the right solution, not the.
That was what I was saying was selfish for Liverpool. It'd be nice for us to be able to not have City there.
Yeah, I think as the season rumbles on, that will become the biggest talking point.
Yes.
Because once the investigation starts, then it all begins. Right. There we go. Any final words from anyone, or are we happy with everything that we've made? Obviously, Chris, you want me to change Bournemouth to Brentford. George, you're like meant to change to Osimhen if he's signed. But I think we've had a good set of predictions there.
Yeah.
So hopefully everyone watching and listening has enjoyed. And hopefully we can have another one of these at some point in the future. And obviously, come the end of the season, we will look back on this and see how right or wrong we were. So I think that'll do. I will say thank you very much to every single one of you. And
thanks for having us.
Yeah. See you all soon.
Good luck. Bye.
Peace.
Bye.